energy team. We confirmed Lee Zeldin to be administrator of the EPA in a bipartisan vote. Doug Burgum received 79 votes when he was confirmed to be Secretary of the Interior. And today we will complete the President's energy team with the confirmation of Chris Wright to be Secretary of Energy. Now, Mr. President, I spoke last week about how our energy needs and about implementing an all of the above energy strategy. I spoke about our abundance of resources, the need to leverage those resources for our country's energy security. One of the most important resources is America's ability to innovate, the knowledge and capabilities we have to expand the realm of possibility. Some of that work is being done in my state at the Sanford Underground Research Facility in Lead, South Dakota. Other great work is being done by the private sector and at universities, often in partnership with the federal government. It's a big part of the work of the Energy Department, and it's what Chris Wright has spent his life doing. Mr. Wright calls himself, and I quote, a science geek turned energy nerd turned lifelong energy entrepreneur, end quote. And if he is confirmed, Mr. Wright will be notable among Secretaries of Energy for his depth of experience. He has experience in nuclear energy, solar, geothermal, wind power, oil, and natural gas. He's worked on innovations in technology that have reshaped the energy industry. And he's seen what energy can do to improve human lives, bring people out of poverty, and remake entire societies. Mr. President, Chris Wright is passionate about energy. He knows it's one of our most important assets, and he's ready to get to work. Our colleague, Senator Hickenlooper, has known Chris Wright for many years, and he described him not only as a successful entrepreneur, but as, I quote, a scientist who is open to discussion and someone who has that ability to assess what is possible and what isn't, end quote. Chris Wright will be an asset to President Trump's energy team, and I look forward to seeing what he can accomplish for our country's energy future. Mr. President, the Senate will also soon vote on the nomination of former Congressman Doug Collins to be Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Caring for the men and women who have served our country is an important obligation, and one that President Trump takes very seriously. Veterans are a top priority for the Trump administration, just as they were in his first term. To carry out this important mission, President Trump has tapped someone with a servant's heart. The son of a Georgia state trooper, Doug Collins just couldn't shake the feeling that he had a duty to serve. After college, he served in the United States Navy. Still feeling called to ministry, he went to seminary and began pastoring a church. But after the attacks of September the 11th, he knew his country needed him again. He joined the Air Force Reserve in 2002 and is still proudly serving our country as a colonel and chaplain. In 2005, Mr. Collins began law school, and within a few months of graduation, his unit was called up to go to Iraq. As a flight line chaplain at one of the largest U.S. bases in Iraq, Doug Collins met and prayed with troops who were on the front lines of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He spent time in the hospital visiting injured service members, praying with them and giving them companionship in their recovery. Turning to public service, Mr. Collins brought that same servant's heart to Atlanta and Washington, representing his native North Georgia. So when President Trump asked him to serve as VA Secretary, it's no surprise that he once again answered the call to serve. Mr. President, there was a moment in Mr. Collins' confirmation hearing that struck me. He said, and I quote, "The VA does not exist in and of itself. It exists for the veteran," end quote. Doug Collins has comforted wounded soldiers. He's taken calls from service members contemplating suicide. He understands what it means to serve the veteran. I look forward to confirming him in this role and working with him to uphold our nation's commitment to those who have served. Mr. President, I yield.